Testing, testing. It's been a long time since I've been on. I wasn't really planning on coming back on anytime soon. You know, sometimes the spirit, it's there. It's egging me on. It's pushing me. And I have to respond. So here I am today. Alito, it's good to see you. I have to be thankful to the Creator again, the Great Spirit, however which way or name you refer to Him, it's all the same. It's all the same. And the topic of this segment here is an indigenous perspective and how did we get here? Well, there's a lot to unload today in the midst of a heat wave. It was so hot yesterday, my daughter's bedroom went out, and I mean all of her outlets. She had 4 outlets in her bedroom, and every last one of them went out. It was the circuit breakers tripped. And I was up late last night trying to figure out what's going on. Come to find out that the people who used to own this house before we purchased it, they on the circuit board, all of the rooms weren't correct in terms of how it is organized on the board. So I finally figured it out, adjusted it, and got my daughter's power back on in her room. But I'm telling you, it's been very, very testy and intense with this heat. I was walking outside, 95 degrees. I mean, I'm from the Bronx. I remember in the 1970s where we had 110 degrees. I think it was 78. And Lord, I'll tell you, I'll never forgot that. It was so hot. I remember when I got home, I jumped in my sink. I couldn't even make it upstairs. That's how hot it was. But there's another kind of heat that is currently with us today. And I'm not talking about the sun. I'm talking about the heat of truth. And it is burning down buildings and people. And what I mean by that is the truth can be a blessing to most, and some it can be blinding, or they could turn into something that you didn't know was there prior to the truth being present. And also it's hard to fill a glass with a liquid or a fluid that is different than which was there already. What I mean by that, there's certain people who are just not going to. Oh, give me 1 second. I just bought this computer because my Apple Mac that I had, bear with me 1 second, that I've had for 14 years died on me. Give me 1 second. I have to plug my computer in before it goes dead on me. Come on. I know where the plug is. That it? Oh, there you go. There you go. Yeah. So 1 second. So yeah, I'm sorry about that. So what was I saying? All right. So yeah, there are some people who we come across that are not filled with what's called humility. So, I might have a truth, you might have a truth. And what I mean by that is I'm talking about ideologies, cultural perspectives. Everyone has their own set of mores and norms and things that they go by. Some of us who are in indigenous families have known of our roots that go back hundreds, if not thousands of years. And because of what the Edomite, or I should have said the white man, because of what he has done, he has shaken the ideologies of those who have been in the know and have passed down, even in the midst of so much death and destruction and enslavement by the white race, that now that there is a coming of age with the knowledge, those of us who have been lost in the cities, in rural areas, who were adopted, who were like myself, were separated, and those of us who are of mixed backgrounds. I'm of mixed backgrounds, but I am not mixed up. I know who the hell I am. In other words, when you're in a war, you have but two sides. What side of the fence are you going to sit on? I'm going to sit on the side of what's right. Now, that can be blurry because of what people don't understand within that. It's within that right. What is the mean? What is right? And the satanic system that we live under is so pervasive that people can't tell a difference between right and wrong anymore. And that's a satanic system. When people do not understand the difference between what's good and what's poisonous. And then when you have a system like that, that's how you know it has to end. Because we cannot forge alliances, or we can't make any progress with a mindset that we're confused about. Now, I listen to a lot of different brothers and sisters from the indigenous world. Oh, I'm sorry. Lost my microphone there. Give me a second. It's not been my day. Okay, so I might have to. Give me 1 second. One second. I'm sorry. Come on. I don't think this is going to hold. Hopefully that'll hold. All right. So sorry about that. So anyway, where was I? The problem that exists with this type of thinking, everyone sits and says, I'm right and you're wrong. I'm right, you're wrong. I'm right, you're wrong. We didn't think like this 200-300 years ago. So how is it that we're supposed to change our way of thinking? Well, only thing I'll say to that is that no culture in the history of the world, no culture goes without some sort of change, whether it be external or within. It's called cultural evolution, even in language. The children develop what is called slang. Even in different cultures, the children always produce a different type of language within a child's community. I remember growing up, we had our slang growing up. Parents didn't know what we were talking about, and these changes, Halito, shalom, sister. These changes come about as a result of new thoughts, as long as it does not affect the moral fiber of the community. And see, people, and I want to touch on this now, people have a problem with the term black. They have a problem with the term African. Okay, I can understand that. People don't want to lose their identities. I get it. But when we start attacking people, and hear me, us, as I call myself a Black American Indian, right? Because my grandfather was dark skinned. I didn't find my family till I was 25. I've gone over this before, time and time again. I had to tell people, that I respect and honor those who came before me. My father's father. They never called themselves black. They never had to. Well, at least when you look back into before first contact, our people never had to refer. We never called ourselves Indians. We never called ourselves indigenous. We never called ourselves black. We didn't have to. It's a huge difference. People are not looking at this because at the time we knew who we were. We could go back into history, thousands of years into our people's past. We had elders for that who would be able to sit and speak to the younger in the tribal community and tell them of their generations past, several generations. So the color issue wasn't relevant. It was not relevant. It was not needed. Okay, so now let's fast forward, because some people are really messed up, and I'm listening to all of the arguments. We're not black. We're not this. Okay, fine. But the problem with that is we are being attacked by an open enemy. He doesn't care what culture you are. He sees color and he's coming after our people. See, the woke community don't realize what danger we are in right now. Didn't they just pass, or in the House, they just passed the, what is that? For the selective service, the draft. Didn't they just pass the draft? Okay, so is America at war right now? Literally, are we fighting with troops on the ground anywhere in the world? Or are there plans for our people to be drafted into a war that is, or is it? Because they have covert and they have overt. Congratulations. Do they have overt or covert wars going on? Do we know? Only thing we know right now, for what the media tells us, is that we're in Israel, giving weapons to Israel, and there's a problem with that. We're giving weapons to Ukraine. So what troops do we have on the ground anywhere in the world that we're fighting? Is there something they're not telling us? What's going on here? So let's look into this a little bit further, because something is amiss. So now where there is white supremacists running around the country, killing the darker peoples indiscriminately. They might kill occasionally one of their own. They don't care. As long as they get us, people of color, period. They don't care if you're black, brown, red, yellow. They coming after our people, because the whole human family, black, brown, red, yellow, the last one being white, you have these sick white supremacists running around here, killing indiscriminately all over the country. This is spoken of in the Bible. I can't remember the book nor the verse. I just remember reading it. It talks about, in the book of Revelation, it's talking about we're living in what's called days of sorrows before the end. I put the pieces together years ago about where we are in the scriptures. Some of us want to deny and say the Bible has no bearing on them. Well, if you've never read it, I mean, you could just pick the book up and you can just read it. So many people read books where they read Daniel Steele's Love Passion, or, they're reading some other, hot novel, but won't pick up a book that because of the there's a lot of innuendo in there, and there's a lot of contradiction. I'm like an investigator. Hold on one second. My battery is not charging, and it's because I thought I plugged it in and I didn't. So bear with me. Oh my goodness. Today just ain't my day. I thought it was plugged in. Sorry. I thought my battery was plugged in, but it wasn't. So now I'm going to have to work with this because it's giving me trouble. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. Just having trouble today. Let me try to get this thing here. All right. So, yeah. So anyway, where was I? Okay, so yeah, the Bible, and I read the book from cover to cover. I was a teenager, who, and a lot of people have problems with this. I came out of the 5% Nation of Islam because growing up, I had no knowledge of who I was. I was stripped clean, in other words, of knowledge of my past, completely stripped away from my mother at birth by the city of New York, and not knowing who I was for a very long time. And when you're stripped like that, you're open for other things to come into your life. And of course, I was raised in a Black and Latino community in the Bronx where religion, Episcopalian, Martin Luther, Pentecostal, all of that was. Is my volume chipping in and out, ladies? Somebody please tell me, because that's what it feels like. I see this red light coming on here. Yeah. Okay. So, are you guys still with me? Okay. Good. All right. I'm just making sure. Yeah. So, this thing now. All right. So, I ended up studying the scriptures because I had a brother who, when he wasn't religious, he just was very knowledgeable and very wise. And he was 10 years my senior, and he left an indelible footprint with me in regards to study. I studied. And when I say I studied, he started teaching me at the age of 10 to age of 7 years old. Planted a seed there from when I was younger. Remember, I was an open book, clean, empty, no knowledge of anything. I had a slave government name. So some people ask me, because my name is, I have two names, my Indian name, my Muslim name, Lamik Khalifa. I'm not hiding from nobody anymore. I'm not hiding from nobody because I know who I am. But being that I was a clean slate, God gave me the opportunity now to study, and not just study one particular thing. Because if anyone's Christian that is listening to me, Jesus said in Hebrew, he said, Ikra, read, study, make thyself worthy unto God. I read that in the scriptures. Okay, fine. So for me, it was a no-brainer. I didn't know who I was. My brother gave me something to hold on to as a child. As I grew into a young man, that seed grew into a very strong tree with some good roots. because I opened the door to many different things that I started to study. And then I came across a lot of the different negatives and the destructive influences in this world. And I said, wow, I said, is the world, or has the world always been this way? Oh, no, hasn't. So there was a deviation at one point, and the world has fallen into utter chaos ever since. One man brought all of the sin into the world, and his deviation from God is what caused it. And what was that? An immoral, or a mind that says, I don't need you. I could do it. I could do this myself on my own. I don't need to pray. I don't need to do this. I don't need to do that. And therefore sin enters in to the fray. Right. And what that is like we always tell our children, what is that? An idle mind is the devil's playground. Right. So we understand that the mind is connected to the soul, whether it ascends or descends, meaning that we get caught up in the lower hemisphere. And I ain't talking about what's up in the sky, what's in it. I'm talking about from the spiritual to the lower part of nature. And here we are today, women running around half naked, men disrespecting women, so many different destructive attitudes today. Nigga, bitch, hoe. All of this social deviancy that's going on social media and everywhere else. These things are how should I put it, connected to these first sins, to this very day. All right. So when we look at how this ride on this train, which is headed to a collision, a complete train wreck, is where we're headed. For me, growing and realizing I had to go through my own. I am saying I'm perfect. Oh no, hell no. I had to go through hell, and still going through it to some degree. But sometimes we have to go through hell before we come up right. Life's lessons. Some don't come back. We either end up in prison or dead. So that's why it's incumbent upon those of us who know, you better look very carefully before you cross that road, because you might get hit. How many times have we had to tell relatives, friends, family members, whatever, you know, we might be a little older, and we say, look, it's not being prophetic. It's that you've experienced some of these things already in life, and that now you can extend a helping hand to someone else, maybe younger than you, and you see the path that they're going down, and it's not a good one. And it's all connected. All of these things are connected to this very day with our people, and we just seem to fall to the wayside and don't understand. So I don't want to deviate too much, you know, into religion, because it's really not about religion. It's about the mindset of the people, and that in order for us to get back to what we once were as a people, we have to understand that the religion that we're looking for is within ourselves. It's not a building. It exists within ourselves. And that comes through prayer, study, and good community. If the community is not in sync, we're not going to make any progress, and we're not going to win. We're going to continue to lose and suffer. So it can't be just one or two people in the community. It has to be a whole community, not part. So this is why, for me, teaching has been an imperative. I have been teaching for over 30 years now in my life. I just turned 57, and I thank God that I've another year around the sun. It's given me. I've had some health issues within the past few months. I've been in 2 accidents, car accidents within the past 4 months. But I'm still here, and I still have my mind about me. And I'm still living. I'm not poor. I'm not rich, but I'm all right. And by the grace of God, I'm still here. So, not deviating too much again. I'm sorry, ladies. My whole perspective on today being based off of yesterday, tomorrow being based off of today, is why we are in, again, this defunct situation. You know, mommy and daddy not home, you know, teaching the children, because mommy and daddy don't know. See, that's why I said this is the importance of why we study. We must read, we must study, and we must sit down and talk to our children, because they will come to you and ask you, mommy, who is God and what does he look like? And because of we've been ill taught by those who destroyed our people for 500 years. Come on. I don't have to, you know, get into great detail about this. It's obvious that we have been deceived for 400 to 500 years now about God, about family, about gender. What's this binary crap that they're running now? You know, there's not just male and female, it's something in between. I'm sorry, that's an offense. That's saying that God don't exist. So the white man has created a new gender. And you talking about Satan? I have to die to go to hell to see Satan? You must be crazy. I'm looking at him right here on earth, because they're planning wars. They're planning on stealing our children for these drafts. Like I said, the House passed the draft, waiting on for the Senate. That means they're coming after our babies. My daughter's 20 years old. I know they haven't done a selective service for women yet, but I'm hearing little chirps from birds, little white birdies around the country saying that's coming. And whenever a man has the power to give you something with his left hand, he could take it back with his right. So I wish they would come to my house talking about my daughter is going to fight. You must be crazy. That's why all of our people need to wake up and stand up and say, hell no. Fight for you? For what? For what? What have we gotten for it? A Snicker bar and a cracker and a dog? Huh? No. So we must look a little deeper into what is really going on with regards to hold on. I'm trying to hold this thing. With regards to what this man is planning. You know, and it's painfully obvious. Really, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure this out. They're talking about the woke community. People who are aware of your bullshit. You know, I got into it with the brother the other day talking about he's tired of Biden, and you know, he's tired of all of these Hispanics coming into the country. You know, and he said that, you know, he wants to go with Trump. I said, what? He wants to do? You want to do what? He was trying to garner me into thinking that Trump is the better of the two evils. I don't trust Biden nor Trump. Shit, for 400 or 500 years, these white folks been lying to us since day one. All right. So I tried to explain to him that Trump is a racist on top of a racist, and you mean to sit here and tell me that I guess he hadn't done his research about what Trump's family had done going back a couple of generations in this country, because Trump's real name was Drumpf, which is German. Some of his family's from Germany. And they came over here and they started brothels. And then they got into like what the Kennedys got into, and that's bootlegging, and that's how they got their money. They don't want to talk about those things. But Trump is a moron on top of an idiot on top of a moron. And how could you even listen to the madness coming out of his mouth? And there are people who are sitting back here saying that he is the best thing for the darker peoples. And I said Biden came in with promises that he was going to entertain the thought of, I guess, some kind of restitution to a degree. And then as soon as he got into the presidency, that flew out the window. For indigenous peoples, where have they helped us out? For Black Americans, where have they helped us out? And, we sit back here saying, well, we got to vote for somebody. Oh, no, the hell we don't. Because look, understand this. You reap what you sow. Now, this is a hard truth. A lot of people don't want to hear this, so pay attention. America was born in violence, theft, and slavery. We are the byproducts of that today. She was born in this, and because of her indignant behavior to this very day, according to the scripture, it says that as it was in the beginning, so shall it be in her end. All right, now, so they opened up the borders. Now, look at this. They opened up the borders down in Mexico and all those places to let all of these immigrants. Biden did this. Now, why did he do this? Because he's slipping in the polls against Trump because of his white right-wing base conglomeration of idiots voting for this, I don't even call him a man, a two-legged animal. Saw that he was slipping in the polls. So what is the next best thing to do? We get more votes. Hispanics, they'll vote for us as soon as we get them in, and cause problems in the Black and brown community at the same time. Kill two birds with one stone. Cause problems. And then just the other day, what did they do? He passed legislation to have people who are married, the spouses or whatever, give them citizenship, automatic citizenship. Wow. See, I'm paying attention to all this bullshit that I already know what's up. They are offsetting the Trump campaign by getting their votes, and of course they're going to slap them. This is the Biden administration do this. They're doing this behind closed doors. They're telling these migrants, look, we're going to let you in the country, but you got to vote Democrat. So is it to save the country? I don't know. There are 2,500 militias in this country right now as we speak. 2,500 militias. Most 2/3 of them are right-wing extremists. How many of them support Trump? There's already rumblings going on around the country with regards to attacks. January 6th, there has been more attacks around the country, not as brazen as January 6th, but they fall in line with we're getting ready and we're setting up just in case. And what is that just in case? Their boy doesn't get in. So now you have a problem. The average hillbilly hick that supports Trump, some of them are falling to the wayside because they're seeing through Trump's bullshit. Finally, some of them, they've developed a few brain cells, all right? And they say, all right, we're not voting for him. But that doesn't absolve the militias. What are they up to? What are they planning? If I was a betting man, I'm not much, but if I was a betting man, these people are very unhappy. All this training that they doing up in the, listen, these white supremacists have been training up in the mountains since I was a little boy. I remember seeing it on Current Affair with Maury Povich? Back in the late 70s, they had their children's up in Idaho, Ohio, Montana, all these places, target practice, shooting and preparing for war. Against who? We have to ask ourselves these questions. Who are they preparing war against? Do they have enough FBI and military to put a stop to these militias? We'd like to hope and pray and think that they do, but we don't know for certain. Just some white man just the other day in Atlanta, some random cracker planning to kill black and brown people at a hip hop event in Atlanta just a few days ago. You know, so, and I have to touch on other issues. This is why I'm making this video, because some of us are starting to become like that which we hate. I hear some of the darker Indians, and I understand, I get it. You're upset that these high yellow Indians are saying they're not native here, they're not indigenous here. And that's because the white man has taught them well in terms of prejudice. They've done a good job in divide and conquer. So they've taught them to hate the darker indigenous peoples, not all of them, but a good majority of the tribes that are on the reservations throughout the country. Now, is that a good thing that they've done this? No, it's not. Now you got black indigenous peoples here, brown indigenous peoples here, who are saying they're not the real Indians. They're $5 Indians, and I understand the anger. I get it. Especially coming from the Bronx. I grew up fighting Italians in my younger day for they using the N-word against me and my friends. You know, but we can't become that which we hate at the same time unless these people are planning war against us. Now, last time I checked, the natives on the reservations, they're not thinking about us. And I have to say this, that they, you know, in their current complexion, they might not be the original, but they are still our family. Now, in terms of personalizing, my cousin, who I found was my cousin just 7-8 years ago, John Longfeather, he had been out to the Lakotas and visited, and he said yes, he did find some racism on the res. But again, see, we in Islam, we call the white man the shaitan, the whisperer. Shit, and he's still whispering in people's ears today. So he told me when he came back, he said, yeah, you know, they don't accept, you know, black people. But then look at what they did the other day with Kyrie Irving. What was that for? Was that for publicity, for money, economics? I wouldn't go so far as to say that all of the Lakota on the reservations are biased. I wouldn't go that far. And that hopefully because of social media that they would start to come out of that ignorance. But we cannot become like those who created the nigger, those who created the bitch, those who created the hoe. Excuse those expressions. Because we know doggone well that we did not produce nor create those mindsets. We did not create these mindsets that we have even amongst our own today. We still killing each other, got the nerve to point fingers at others when we do not hold a peace accord amongst the youth in the community, that the gangs would put down their guns and stop harassing the elderly, or Assalamu alaikum, brother Anthony. That how we have not done enough to stop the gangs in our communities. And why, ask the question, why are there gangs in our communities? Because these foster care agencies, these adoption agencies, what did they do in the inner cities and on the Indian reservations? They went in and they snatched children from their mothers, put them up for adoption. Mostly in indigenous communities, they put them up for adoption with white families. Did they not? Come on, talk to me. Talk to me. They put the Indians with white families for what? To serve what purpose? And then in the black and brown communities in the urban, they put them in foster care systems. I know, I was a part of that. They did that to me. They took me from my mother. So we really have to, and this is a part of the woke community, those of us who are in the know, what they created, and this goes back decades. They've been doing this actually more than over 100 years. Save a live spirit and lighten up. Yes, sir. I will do that, brother. So they've been doing this for over 100 years. And then, see, that's why I said today's based on yesterday, tomorrow's based on today. So now you got some of these high yellow Indians who are running around, who are using the same N-word white man is using against the darker peoples in the urban cities, who have family and know that we have family that are native, goes back centuries in this country. And because we're laying claim to that, it's a problem. So therefore, the reaction is, now that the darker peoples are waking up, and this is a fact, black people have been in North America for a very long time, but unknown to most people, hear me, we have been here for thousands of years, the darker peoples. Now, what are we talking about when we say black people have been here? Black people with kinky hair, black people with curly hair, black people with straight hair, black people with Asian-looking features. I mean, when you look at the variety of the darker peoples, and we are a variety. White folks can't say that. So you want to look at ancient India. Where did the term Indian come from? If you look at India, and I'm not talking about in Bollywood, I'm talking about the real black Indians that were in India, and they have been there for tens of thousands of years. From the lessons that I got from the nation was that the Indians that were in India were banished over 16,000 years ago because they worshiped Buddha. I've spoken to some Indians from India, and they said they are aware of that. But what they were not aware of was, because history over time, of course, it gets muddied, it gets, befuddled and innuendo. But they didn't know that a lot of them traveled across the land bridge and ended up coming into what's called Canada and North America. Now, were they the only people that came here? No, because they mingled with the Siberians and the Mongolians across the path. Now, you think about that for a minute. Think about that. And you look at some of the indigenous today that are on the reservations. Some of them look almost Chinese. Some of them do look Mongolian. Some of them look Asian. Are they not a part of the human family? How could you render this verdict when they came here long before the Europeans did and say that they're not a part of the human family? Only those who have been deceived and tricked by this devil. How could we sit there and point fingers and say, Okay, because you're angry because they point fingers at you because of what they've been taught against us. So we're angry at them. So now we're hating $5 Indians. Okay, this is who's producing all of this? It's causing more divide and conquer tactics than it would bring us together against a common enemy, which is ignorance, stupidity, and thirdly, white folks. Because they were the ones who perpetuated these things. So yes, they came across the land bridge, and in doing so, they walked, oh boy, hundreds, if not thousands of miles. And then they stopped along the way. It mingled with the Mongols, the Siberians, and then different tribes entered at different impasses and intervals along the way. From Seattle, Washington, you get the Nez Perce with Chief Joseph and Matoya Alaki. I love that brother, Chief Joseph. Ooh, man. And then all the way up to Maine, coming down into the Appalachians. Now, were they the only people to come into North America? No. This is the problem. There were others that came, darker peoples that came here as well. And as a result, tribes were formed. People are coming into this new world, allegedly, for different reasons. Some fleeing wars, some being exiled. And, as a result, you have different tribal cultures and languages. Look at all of the different languages. They said there were well over 500 to 600 tribes here. And all of them didn't speak the same language. So where did all these languages come from? If you've ever heard some of the languages from India, some of them sound similar to some of the tribal languages here, because languages change over time. If you look at some of the clothing with the moccasins, if you've seen some of the old, what do you call it? I'm trying to think of what they refer to as their princes over there. The Maharaj or something. Don't quote me. They would look, if you take the time to look. Some of them have the breech clout. Some of them have moccasins. Now, come on, is that a coincidence? I peeped this years ago. So instead of us saying that all Native Americans came from one place, no, you got to do more research than that, because we didn't just evolve the way we are today. And then you got to remember, Europeans, boy, when they came, whatever little tribal differences we have, and I want to touch on that because this is also pertaining to the title. How did we get here? Because we were so divided. We were living in different parts of the country, divided on cultural, linguistical, ideological differences, that we could not develop this country the way it could have been developed. We could have become a stronger people had we put our petty differences aside back then. When other tribes came into contact with one another, some were peaceful, some not so much. And then conflicts arose, whether it's because of survival, necessity to live, to feed the families, because of one area that you were living, there was a drought, the food wasn't as plentiful, you had to move, come into someone else's territory. Next thing you know, you're fighting. So I want to. This is ancient stuff. What I'm talking about, thousands of years ago. I want to bring things a little up to speed in Tecumseh's time in the 1800s. I'm skipping a little bit, and there's a reason why. because Tecumseh came from the Shawnee, told our people, he saw through visions, and just by the conflicts he saw his people having with the whites, what did he do? He traveled in the interior of the country as far as he could go, in the Ohio Valley. He traveled north and south to the southern woodland tribes and the northern Algonquins. And what did he do? This is why we in trouble today, my indigenous family. What y'all know, hear me on this one. He told our people, put your petty differences aside and unite under the least common denominator. And I heard this from Minister Farrakhan back in 1985. Put your petty differences, come under the least common denominator. And that is what we need to survive as a people, so we will live for generations to come. So don't think for now, think 7 generations ahead for the children. He did this. Less than a handful of the tribes agreed with him. And they turned, most of the other tribes, Cherokees too and others, they turned their backs. Oh no. We went down to the Seminoles. They turned their backs on them. We got a good relationship with the whites. We see where that went. And next thing you know, we're at war. And of course, we know what happened to Tecumseh. He was killed in battle. When I think about this story, it hurts my heart because I still see it today. I've been speaking about this for so long, but we still can't put down. Now, some of us have tried to reach out to some of the yellow indigenous brothers and sisters. Now, hear this, and hear me well. Hear me well on this. Some of us have said, I'm quoting others, I'm not saying who, because they won't acknowledge us on the res. Look, a lot of the Indians on the reservations, they're starving, struggling. They can't even take care of themselves. They can't take care of themselves. How do they expect to add us to the rolls? And they're trying to keep what little identity they have. They're losing languages on the reservations because of the elders that are passing on it. And that goes to tell you that they have not, a lot of them have not been educated enough to, or they haven't been given the resources by the government, which has been promised to them, that they can rebuild their tribal identity, because really the government doesn't want them to do that. So how can we go say that? I heard a brother say years back, he said, we know who we are, we're coming for you. Now, when I heard that, I was like, we're coming for, what did he mean by that? They're coming for the indigenous peoples on the reservations. That could be construed as a threat of violence. How would you say something like that? So like the organization that I was once involved with that fell apart, we built our own banner, and we listed ourselves as non-reservation Indians. We came out of the inner cities, which I think was a bold move. Or we were being watched by the government. They was opening up our mail and everything else. Wasn't doing nothing illegal. It's just the fact that Black Indians seems to have created a stir in Washington, somewhat. But I guess they realized they couldn't do too much because we weren't involved in any political activities or anything militaristic. Strictly peaceful. We were traveling around the country to speak to various, chiefs and tribal leaders. And so this, I always say, now there are Black indigenous tribes, and I'm not referring to them, keep to their own, and God bless them, but we need to reach out wholeheartedly, more so to other indigenous peoples without so much as ideology. Look, we have been scattered purposely as a people. We have been led astray, run amok, hoodwinked, and our people are lost, many of us, in trying to find our way. And in trying to find our way, what we're doing is we're creating more division because many of us, like myself, haven't studied enough. And there's no humility enough. We need to come under one. I said this a long time ago. We need to come under one united Indian front with a neutral flag that is separate from the other indigenous families in terms of the flags, not disrespecting the national flag that others have, no disrespect, but we need to come under a united front. This is what white folks fear. We put the idea of having smaller nations just to the side, not neutralized, just to the side, and come under a united indigenous front. What the white man did. They came from Germany. Of course, he had. Now, this is the sad thing. When he came here, Germany, Russians, English, French, Spanish, all of them came here with the idea of to do what? Steal this country, to steal it. And they did just that. They didn't just steal a country, shit. They tortured, murdered, lynched, raped, and put our people in chains to get where they are today. And they say that they don't owe us anything. Well, we know that they have paid some natives on the reservations. They got casino money, right? But there's still another contingent of indigenous peoples throughout the urban areas in the United States who we are looked at as citizens to some degree, but not citizens. Let me officially and unofficially. When I applied, because I live in Connecticut, I applied for my pistol license. I worked in law enforcement for several years. I owned a security company. And when I applied for my pistol license up here in Connecticut, and they asked me my background, I said, I'm indigenous, I'm Native American. You know, this white man looked at me and he put his head down. We don't have a category for Native American Indian. And a white woman sitting right next to him said, she looked in shock, utter shock. She said, what do you mean? She said, we have to be able to, put something on. Do you know what they have me listed as on my pistol permit? Unknown. So further tells you they have nothing but contempt for our people. Don't trust no damn politician. Don't trust no religious reverend that comes into the community from them. Creditor. These people are nothing but liars, deceivers for the past 400 to 500 years, and ain't nothing changed. And as the scripture says that the sins of their fathers are going to be revisited on their sons and daughters. Where the hell are we at right now? They saying no to restitution, reparations. They've been sitting back playing games. They've been sitting back playing games, talking about they're going to entertain the idea. You see Miss Kamala Harris in the White House talking about, well, we need to come up with a different formula for how we're going to come up with reparations. Fine, because we know that there's some people who get money and they throw it away. They'll throw it away. We know that. So money is not off the table entirely, but it can be also a part of the conversation. That other things like taxes, we need to be exempt. See, in the Constitution, I believe it says in the 14th Amendment, don't quote me, but I know this, that it says any indigenous Native American Indian in the continental U.S. is not to be taxed. It says anywhere in the continental U.S. And then when I called the IRS, they said, oh, well, you're not on an Indian reservation. I said, you mother, excuse my language. No, it says in the continental U.S. within its borders. What? So taxes is an issue that our people, we should not be taxed. But again, they have no respect. Oh, they reaping right at this minute with this weather. People think that this is just global warming. This is why God took me away from my family. See, my suffering wasn't for nothing. I found my culture, found my language, I found my history, but most of all, I found God. And I ain't talking about no spook. I ain't talking about no ghost, no spirit that would God, what this white man has been telling us, that we got to look up for some white man and with a white sheet wrapped around him, and that he's floating around as some spirit. See, this is going to be another shock to the world, as the book of Revelations talks about God himself coming in a physical form, just like a man. And people got problems with this. But I tell you, without a split second of hesitation, that God himself is here. Now, they have deceived the world as we know it. They have brought all kinds of hells and devilishment into the world that we know of today. We are not responsible for these things. But when we know and understand what these things are, we are responsible for getting ourselves the hell out of it. And that comes through what Jesus said 2,000 years ago: study. We must read so we understand. When you go into a courtroom and you representing somebody as a lawyer, you got to have all your facts to present your case. Because if you don't, you're going to get laughed out of the courtroom. You mean thrown out or arrested by the what do you call it? The police that are in the courtrooms. They're going to drag your behind out of there. You know what you're talking about? So God put me on the path to find him. He says in the book of Corinthians, some of you have not knowledge of me. I say this to your shame. I'm not getting it. This got nothing to do with religion. This has everything to do with science and fact, and our disconnect with the God himself, who has pulled away from us because our fathers decided that they didn't need God anymore. They said, God, we do what we want. And that's why we in hell right now. So, but at the same time, this man that was made, this white man that was made, he was to bring the hell to the darker peoples of the planet, because our fathers deviated from God's mercy. Therefore, we would suffer for 6,000 years. So you sit here and tell me that this planet is 6,000 years old? That's what they told us. But they dug out bones. What they've done, carbon dating, forensics. They finding bones that are 1.4 million years old, dinosaur bones. You mean to tell me that their carbon dating is inaccurate? Open for interpretation. But when I'm telling people that this planet is much older than what most people know, and the knowledge of our existence on this planet goes back eons. The white man is finding evidence of this, but what he didn't find was evidence of himself beyond a certain time. He found the darker peoples older than himself. So, of course, white supremacy, what does that do in the face of white supremacy? Truth, again, versus the lie. So they automatically, the evil spirit wells up. These niggas think that they was here before me. And then the scientist says, yeah, they were. You know, so then you got violent behavior. So now all over social media now, the evidence of it is coming out. All over social media. We were here before you. Why would he get upset? Because he's a sick mind. He's sick. He has to be, and there's this book that I read back in the 1980s called The Drum Major Syndrome by Bobby E. Wright. Read it a long time ago. And it talks about, you know, a drum major in the band. He's always in the front. You know, especially with our folks, we get down, boy. You know, moving, but that baton, homeboy coming up the street like, yeah. And this is how this man is. Everything has to be from him, and everything has to be first, which is impossible. And no way that you created black, brown, red, and yellow races. That's a lie. That's just a impossibility. There's no way two white people gonna create, not even yellow. It's impossible genetically. You know, so because of that sick mind that they have, when you present truth to them, here comes the arguments, or they start stuttering, or they start looking in other directions. You watch their faces. I know I've been in conversations with them. Boy, they don't like it. I'm not one to bite my lip. I don't care who you are. I ain't scared of you. You know, so they are, this is why God said, Jesus said 2,000 years ago, hear this. He said, if you were of my Father, you would hear the truth that I am telling you. Because you are your father, the devil, there is no truth in you. Ho! That's in the book of John's and Matthew's. Who is he talking to? White folks back then? Ooh, yeah, it's 2,000 years ago. They've been here for almost 6,000 years now. And the time is up. So now, I pressed upon this issue before concerning God himself. Now, this is very controversial, but it's the time. I have to speak on it, as I do from time to time. I have to let people know that in the book of Genesis, to my Christian family, in the book of Genesis, God said he fashioned a wheel that was a half a mile by a half a mile. In the book of Joshua looked up, and behold, coming in from, not the north country, excuse me, just a cloud coming in. He saw God himself coming out of a cloud on what looked like a ship. The word that was used from the King James Version was vessel. And it said he was a bronze complexion. Now hear me. In the book of Ezekiel looked up, and behold, a wheel whipping around at lightning speeds from east, west, north. No, excuse me, that's Daniel's. I'm sorry, I'm jumping the gun. In the book of Ezekiel looked at, he saw a wheel coming in from the north country, and as it hovered close to the ground, it had fire and smoke round about. And when he looked up, he saw what looked like a man coming out of it. He fell to his knees and said, "Oh my God," and started to pray. In the book of Daniel looked up, and behold, a wheel whipping around at lightning speeds from east, west, north to south. Now, I said to my Christian family, with all due respect and humility, if God is a spook, a spirit, what does he need with a ship? Because in the book of, go read it. Don't take my word for it. In the book of Genesis, God said he fashioned a wheel that's a half a mile by a half a mile. And throughout the scriptures, it talks about these wheels. So now the white man is seeing UFOs. They're all over YouTube, and he's talking about aliens. Now, it says that the devil was the greatest arch deceiver. He deceived the entire world about who? About who and what God is, and the history of the planet. And that he would deceive the elder nations, and the elder nations would serve the younger nations. Oh, who's that? Come on, talk to me. Talk to me. Talk to me. Huh? So they got you on YouTube, the movies, They're talking about these scaly, bulgy eyes, sometimes huge heads, so-called aliens. But yet they call people who coming from Mexico or Salvador, they call them aliens too. Huh? Got me confused. What? Aliens from... They don't call Europeans that come to American aliens. You ever notice that? They call people who are darker peoples who come from South America or Africa, they call them aliens. Illegal aliens. Well, shit. The last time I checked, you was the only goddamn illegal alien in my country. So this wheel, these UFOs that they are seeing, and that's a fact. Listen, the great Kunti, my sister's on here, and my brother. The great Kunti, which they call the pyramids today. You see, our people are older than America has not always been here and how it looks. You say, well, wait a minute. What? Come on now, people. If you look at a global map, what do you see? It looks like a puzzle, don't it? So God said, behold, I create a new heavens and a new earth. How would that look? Well, they've shown ancient maps. They're finding ancient maps now, suddenly out of the blue, and they're showing North America, Africa, not in its current state. So that means, did a cataclysm occur? Major earthquakes? And did it cause the continents to separate and move into their current positions? So then, of course, we have to look at the fact that if that happened, and it did, North America was not always what it is today in terms of how it looks on the map. We're connected to some of the other continents. So these things have been left out, omitted for change. Nothing stays the same on the surface. We change our culture, our history, our language every 25,000 years. You know, it's like anyone who's going through, what do you call it? You know, I was born in the 60s, late 60s, right? I'm not wearing the same clothes that I wore from back in the 70s and even the 80s. I'm not wearing the same clothes. I'm not even listening to the same music. Music has changed. Not to say it got any better to a degree. And I'm talking about hip hop. I grew up on educational. I grew up on educational hip hop, you know, inspirational hip hop, this crap that they playing today. So that, not to get off point. Everything changes. What's not supposed to change is the moral fibers of our being. That is supposed to be internal, and that's what keeps us in line with God. This immoral society and system is an abomination to God and has reached the nostrils of God like dung. So, of course, we stink. But my point was and is that we change cultures and languages. Nothing stays the same. It's just a part of human nature. You know, I ask my brothers and sisters how did we come about? Oh, I'm sorry, guys. My lawyer's calling me. Give me 1 second. Oh, my goodness. Hold on 1 second. Hello? Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. Domestic partnership. Domestic partnership. Sing. You can put single. You can put single. You can put single. Yeah. Yeah. No updates. Okay. All right. Call me. Okay. All right. Bye. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, people. That was my lawyer. 2 car accidents within the past couple of months. So that was an important phone call. Yeah. So where was I? All of these interruptions. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, our people have to understand that the scope of things with regards to how things have changed. Always the surface. Nothing stays. If you ever notice, Mother Nature does, if you want to call it that, Mother Nature does intercede in terms of changing the landscape. It's like, we shed skin, we shed hair. And as we get older, our looks change to some degree. So as it is without, as it is within. We go through trauma. The earth goes through trauma. And change comes about. Nothing stays the same. Again, I reiterate this, and this is something a lot of our people need to know and understand. That is the moral spirit within our being, our nature, our very natural natures. Have you ever heard of us ever having world wars? Our people have conflicts. We fought and killed each other, yes, but not world wars. Mostly for survival, not to kill people for some political agenda or resources to steal because of that's your land and I want it and I'm going to come take it. We were never really a people like that. Naturally. It's a difference. These people, they're so evil that they believe that they were the supreme beings on the planet, that they came up with a eugenics program by Margaret Sanger and Walter Plecker to exterminate the black, the brown, the red, and the yellow peoples. This was developed at the turn of the century by these evil scientists. So that's their nature, not ours. It's not our nature to be as diabolical and wicked as these people have amongst our peoples. That's why God said he's going to force a separation. I don't know if you guys heard about what's going on down in New Orleans, Louisiana. A contingency of white people down there, some rich white people got together and said, we need to get away from these niggas. And they got themselves together financially and they moved. And I think they're still in the process of moving out of the black and brown communities. Now, when I heard that, I said, that's a blessing. Think about moving down there myself. But you hear the politicians down there, the black ones, saying, what are we going to do? We can't survive without massa. Oh, shit. We can't do without the tax dollars that were coming in, the revenue that's coming in from them. The white man who might have spearheaded this plan was on social media, went viral. I'm sure you guys probably heard or seen it. But he said, looking at it from a psychoanalytical point of view, he said, we have to move away from black people. He said that things could get pretty bad down the line. Well, he's right. The way things are going in this country, he wasn't lying. He said if we don't separate, something is going to happen and it ain't going to be good. And we need to get away from them. That was the smartest thing I heard a white man say. Hell yeah. Malcolm X said it in the 60s. He said, you got a powder keg in your house, you better get that powder keg out your house. So it ain't just black peoples, indigenous peoples, whether they call themselves red, black, or brown, or you got the black people call themselves African Americans or Black Americans. It don't matter. Really don't matter. He's scared the darker people's gonna rise up against him. Why? Now, why would he be scared? Is there a conscience working? Maybe after all these centuries, all the shit that you've done, maybe now you will have some semblance of a conscience now? Or is that you scared because all of the shit that you've been doing and still are doing to this day, maybe we better get out while the going's good? So this mental awakening, this white man in this white community down in New Orleans might start to take effect more so around the country. Do I look at that as a bad thing? No. Especially now with us having to worry about our children going to Dollar General, going to the supermarkets, going anywhere where they spend money, at the mall, at the movie theaters, and we got to worry about some crazy ass cracker trying to kill our people just for the color of their skin. Huh. So, yeah, they know their time is, they know it. They know it. So, but that when I heard that, I said, yeah, it's a blessing. That's a blessing. That's what needs to happen. That's when he says, "Am I separatist? You damn right. Our people getting killed, and we need to get a hold of our own people who are killing our own people, and put them in check." See, I'm gonna let it out. I was a Black Panther. I was a Black Panther for 3 years, and we had made plans to go around to the urban, communities where there were gangs, and we was gonna tell the brothers, "We'll roll with us, or we're gonna roll over you," before they murdered our general. We were in the process of making our community safer for our people. The white man didn't want that because he wants to lock the black and brown peoples up every chance he get. Fill our people with his prisons. Because if his prisons weren't filled with our people, and some of his as well, they commit more crimes, then there wouldn't be any jobs for them to do. Their jobs are to arrest and kill. So if that's taken out of the equation, no jobs. So they have to keep us. So that's why they murdered our leader and broke up the party. It's at this point in time, our people cannot see that what must happen here. It's sad because this is something that must come to pass, or the consequences are tremendous. A civil war / race war, which is on the horizon. They showed us a snippet of that in the movie Civil War. I saw it, but I didn't see the movie. I saw a snippet, and the white boy saw, who was it? Those Americans, but they were foreign Americans, if you want to call them, from other countries. And the white guy looking at him like, "What kind of American are you?" That was very telling, because what they were saying was, "You're not white. We don't care if you are American naturalized citizen. Even if you're born here, you're not white." And you saw them raise their guns. I don't trust none of these crackers. I'm sorry, I don't trust none of them. I fought them growing up, and I understand that their mindset is that this land is theirs, and they don't care their forefathers stole it. That's what you're dealing with, a beast, a monster. And now he got his children running out, killing innocent peoples of color, innocent. But God warned our people and said, if we don't stop the killing of our own, he's going to release the red serpents on. That's in the scriptures. He's going to release the red serpents on our people, because we still have not what? Learned to put what? Petty differences aside. I say this with a heavy heart, family. The foolishness that we still fighting over. We put all our feathers into one basket and become a family, or we die, or we die. Or we die. We're going to go, in other words, yeah, sister, their time is up, but so will ours be as well, because we're not innocent. Right. But we are not innocent, though. We have been a free people physically, since what? The so-called Emancipation Proclamation. Most of us, we have been a free people, and now the information age that we're in. That's why I said there's no more excuses. There's no more excuses. The information age that is here. We don't take the time out to look, to research, to study, to analyze, to be critical, to engage in conversation for that which would free our minds as well as our bodies has been freed. But our minds are still captive on a mindset and an ideology that is not our own. That's why God said, "Come out of her, my people. Come out of her, my people. Turn away from your wicked ways that they have taught us, and how to be amongst our people, and how we've been taught is in an ill, negative way." So coming out of her, we don't understand that we have to shed the ignorance of the nigger, the redskin, or the bitch, or the hoe. We must shed those mentalities. We must shed that which causes us destruction, and communication is the first key. In the neighborhood, because some of the white people give me ugly stare. So yeah, oh yeah, sister, I know. I ended up leaving the Bronx. The number of black and brown people, only white folks I saw was in the police departments and in the hospitals. But coming up here, I got white neighbors now. And hey, listen, a couple of them are cool. Got no problems. You want to hear something crazy? I got Spanish people who live next door to me, and they're Puerto Ricans. Now I got nothing against Puerto Ricans. I grew up with some down in the Bronx, and they were cool. But some of these newer ones, when I spoke to them before they bought the house next door, and I was telling them about lynchings that are going on in the country, and we got into a conversation about Trump, and they support Trump. And I said, why? He's a businessman. So I scratched my head. So I said, so money matters more to you than morals and bigoted people. And his brother-in-law got up and said, I don't know nothing about that, and smiled and walked off. And then went and turned around and told his brother, the owner of the house, that he doesn't like me. So some of our own can be just as bad. I tell these Puerto Ricans running around here, y'all are indigenous peoples. So I told one Spanish girl this one time, she got so welled up, she was crying, and she didn't like what I told her. She said, I'm Spanish. I said, okay. I'm telling you, you know more Spanish than I speak English, because English ain't our language, and we can't even speak English or the proper Spanish. I told some of these Spanish people, I said, the Spanish language that you speak is not proper from the Queen Spanish in Spain. And I said, they look at you as a bastardized child. So many of my Hispanic community does say, what? I didn't know that. Yeah, the royalty in Spain, they look at you as bastard children. That's what they refer to you as. So you can imagine what the whites here in this country, they scared of black people. I'm sorry, they scared of black and brown people here in the States. Not so much in physicality, in terms of our moving up in politics, in government, in economics, business. They know that we are progressive people in that regard. So that's what they fear. And then ultimately they fear the numbers game. See, this is in the book of Exodus. When Pharaoh was advisors became aware of the census, and said, look, the slaves, their numbers are rising, and their numbers almost reaching our numbers. He said we had better deal with them wisely for what we've done to them, because one day they might come back and do to us what we have done to them. That's in the book of Exodus. Many people think that's talking about Pharaoh, and it is, and it's talking about Egypt, and it is, and it isn't. Because the Egypt that's over 9,000 miles away in the continent of so-called Africa, that was a Greek name. The original name of that place was called Kemet before the Greeks took it over. But what people don't understand is that storyline in the book of Exodus is talking about people over here that were kidnapped and enslaved. Now, I have another issue with some people talking about, oh, there wasn't that many Africans that were brought over. First of all, the first black people that they brought over here were not African. They were the ancient Kemites, the descendants of the pyramid builders. Who do you think designed the Capitol? His name was Benjamin Banneker. He designed the Capitol in Washington, D.C. I said, people don't read shit. Now, you don't just bring people over here who know how to build like that, and they running around in the bush throwing spears, wearing tutus. And this is the ignorance of some of these black, I gotta say this, some of these black Indians running around here, they don't notice they were not Africans. They were the descendants of the pyramid builders. This is the great seal that's on the back of your dollar bill, and the great mystery of the history of this country. The first people that were brought here, they were scholars, they were scientists and engineers. And they were brought over here in the year 1555, not 1619, with that 1619 project. And this is the stories that the Masonic people, especially the Freemasons, which are white people, Freemasons are white people, that they were free to let go into the world to do what they would, which was supposed to have been good, not anything evil, but they chose to do everything that was evil under the sun. And they brought our people into servitude, and then they brought us to build Jubilo, and Jubilum, which is England, France, and America. And did not the darker peoples, including indigenous peoples, build this country? Build Europe? Did we not? Our forefathers had the knowledge. They were free. And what did they do? They put us in projects. They put us into a project from the year 1555 to the year 1619, which was a 64-year incubation period. Now, I don't know if any of you know about the $64,000 question. That's the $64,000 question. That is a Masonic secret amongst the elites that has leaked out. Of course, that's why I have this information. This is very dangerous information. I don't care. It come for me. They're going to have to kill me because my God is here. So I fear no one. So the $64,000 question was referring to the 64-year incubation period, that what it took was what they did with the scholars that they initially brought over from Kemet or Egypt, and they brought them over here to Virginia, and they put them into a project. And what they did was they forced mommy to have sex with her son. They forced a sister to have sex with their brother. They forced daddy to have sex with his daughter, which is where the term MF comes from. Motherfucker, excuse my language. And then they took the babies that were born from this, and they put them into a white woman's rearing. A white woman would rear the child, and that white woman would call that baby a nigger. Now, this is 1555 to 1619. And you think they're going to teach this in the schools? You can forget about it. So it was 64 years that then grandma, grandpa, great-grand, they start dying off. And who's left? Now what do you have? A community of Negroes. See, when you know and understand the root of how we were created, then you can begin to wash it away. But if you don't know the root and the origins of how we were made as a people, now it's so funny, you know, we got other people coming in from other countries talking, what's up, nigga? What's up, my nigga? So this community that they created, white folks did this. They did this, and then we wonder why it's still going on today. But that's why God said he's going to send messengers. He's going to send prophets amongst the people to warn them of what must be done to change, or we suffer the same consequences that our enemies will. And that they are. You look at the hurricanes, the tornadoes, the earthquakes, everything is increasing, and it's going to get worse. It's going to get a whole hell of a lot worse. We haven't seen anything yet. They seeing these UFOs coming out of volcanoes. They seeing them coming out of the oceans. The God that I know is real. The book of Revelations talks about God sat on a council with 24 elders. I know them as scientists. So we've been on this planet for trillions of years, family. You heard what I said? With a T. Trillions of years we've been on this planet. There's evidence is out there. We just gotta look for it. They found in the mountains of Peru and the Andes, they found a mountain. It looked like someone took a giant razor blade and shaved it in half. But then they said it was an earthquake that caused it. But then when they looked down in the valleys below, guess what they didn't find? They found no debris. None. So if they found no debris, then that whole idea that there was an earthquake that caused, and then if you look at the top of this mountain, it's smooth. And they found images of what looked like, and you can only see this from the air. It's only from the air. They found what looked like images of monkeys and birds and landing strips like an airport. Did y'all hear what I said? Landing strips with an airport. You see, we've been stuck so much here in America and other parts of the world that we have not branched out and looked in other parts of the world and see what even this white man is digging up, that he's finding. He's saying, what's this? Who made this? It wasn't you. But he's finding these images, and 9 times out of 10, it's the darker peoples, not himself. And therefore, this information, what he does with it, he causes and creates a fabrication with the truth. Ancient aliens, which is a great offense. Ancient aliens, he says. And he's doing everything in his power to keep this information from us. So yes, they found runways what look like launching pads and, you know, landings and you know, there was no other explanation because you couldn't see it from the ground. You had to be up in the sky to see it. So that means something is coming and landing and taking off. But we so limited in our thinking and understanding, we believe that the technology that we have, white folks are the progenitors and authors of technology. Way far from the truth. They found batteries in ancient Kemet, what they call Egypt, that were over 2,000 years old. Batteries. They might not look like the batteries of today, but they were batteries, and they were used for gold plating and other things. They found images on the walls inside the Kunti, the pyramids, images of what looked like brothers holding giant light bulbs. I mean, King Solomon said there's nothing new under the sun. There's nothing new under the sun. So if we know and understand what that really means in its authenticity, then our people are much older than what we've been led to believe. And if that's the case, and it is, that means that we have an ancient past that is far superior to what we have and seen today. And that is the basis for which this man holds us in contempt and holds us prisoner. That's why God said to them, let my people go. So we're still held prisoner here. And what I mean by that is I ain't talking about us leaving. Those of us, especially Native, we're not going nowhere. This country don't even belong to you. If anything, you got to go. Could we do it peaceably? Yeah, we could share. He could share. You have a section. You have a section. But listen. He's so greedy in his nature. He look. It'll show up somewhere in his lineage with his children. They'll come right back and be like, "Yeah, I hear some of these darker peoples. They dress a little strange. They look different, but they are a little advanced, a little more than us, and I want what they got." Who's to say that they wouldn't do that 100 years, 200 years, or 300 years from now? Just like Alexander. That's why I love when you don't learn from history, you're condemned to repeat it. Especially with this man. When Alexander came into Kemet, Alexander, the so-called great, I call him a murderer and a thief. When we went into Greece, somewhere around the, what was it, 7th century, we gave them mathematics and science. Only 33 and a third degrees of knowledge we gave them, and we built their homes and their small cities for them, their country. They came back 2,000 years later, conquering under the name of Alexander, because they saw Ethiopia and they saw Kemet, which our people also come from, great advanced civilizations, Lemuria and beyond. I said we didn't always live in North America. And if you look at some of the ancient pictures and images of Kemet, you'll see the darker peoples. The features are almost similar to a lot of our people here today. We just got to wake up. So we gave them a 33 and a third degrees of the knowledge of the pie. We didn't give them the whole pie. You crazy? We wasn't giving. Yes, that's like giving all your secrets to a potential enemy, but you don't know if he's an enemy. You have to gauge it and see where he goes with it. So we gave him 33 and a third degrees. He took that, built his armies, and he came after Ethiopia. He did not get Ethiopia. He got what's called Egypt today, formerly known as Kemet, and changed the whole landscape in that area. Look at today. That's why those people, they ain't building no pyramids today. Those Arabs and whatnot that are over there, they're not the original indigenous peoples from that land. A lot of them they brought over here to North America. That's why if you look, again, I reiterate, Benjamin Banneker. Come on, look them up. You look at a lot of the inventions in here in North America that were created, even the cotton gin, go figure, to make picking cotton easier for the slave. You know, hundreds of inventions that the darker peoples created. I'm not saying that there wasn't any indigenous peoples, because we are great people too. You kidding me? You look at the Mayan temples. You look at they found Mayan structures in Georgia back in 2012. Our people were intelligent, but you know what happens over time? Everything that reaches its climax, you can't go up no further. So that means what goes up must come down. To do what? To restart. And that's where we are headed. Hopefully our people are on that path, and that's where we're going. Because if we don't realize our potential as the original human beings of this planet, we have to think outside the box of just Turtle Island. This planet belongs to the original peoples of the earth. I ain't said a white man. He came from the Caucasus Mountains. He can go back to Europe if he wants to. But the planet on a whole belongs to us because God gave it to us. But we have to make claim, and we must do right in order for us to claim it, because you wouldn't put a fool to lead the people. You must have a good, strong Godhead to lead, unless we fall by the wayside and into the ditch. All right. So I hope that this segment, How Did We Get Here, offer some more insight to the problems that we face, and that we could break up some of the confusion and ignorance more so today with regards to our present time and what must be done for us to come out of this, this funk, this ignorance. We must train our minds. Whenever I'm out in the street, I see my brothers and sisters, I refer to them just as such, brother and sister, even if they don't know or understand, that type of language, I let them know where I'm coming from. And this is how if we change the way we think, we change the way we act. It's not going to it's going to take time, but it has to start somewhere. I changed my name legally. I got rid of the English name that I had. And my kids, they can have a name that represents something positive, and as a result, they're well behaved wherever they go. And I know because I get reports on them constantly, especially when they're in schools. I get reports. I ask them what their name means. They said one who sits on the God's right hand, or the right hand of God. And before they go out that door, what's your name mean? They know what it means. And I say, so you can't have your hand in God's hand and Satan's hand at the same time. You can't do that. So our behaviors, and we wonder what's wrong with our children. Our children have nothing to hold on to, nothing to stand on. Nothing to hold on to, nothing to stand on. So we running around here, with names that, not saying that they're destructive. We have indigenous names, like Red Wolf, and just to name a few, Cheyenne, or whatever the case may be. So many different indigenous names, but are we really adopting a positive role when we speak to our children and say, well, he said, Daddy, what does this name actually mean? What is Two Feathers, Lone Wolf? What does it mean? Does it mean something positive that I can go into the world, or does it have a negative connotation with it? And that is incorporated in the child's brain. I'm telling you, when I tell you both of my kids, they were nothing like how I grew up. My last name used to be Jones. I grew up in an adopted family, foster child for 5 years before my adoption. I was a terror when I was a little kid. I ain't ashamed to say it. I was just what the white man wanted me to be, a subject, to be wild out in the streets, to be either arrested or to be killed or on drugs. That was the what do you call it? The obstacles that were put before me when I was in my adolescence. And I thank God every day for my brother and what he sent to me. If it hadn't been for him, well, I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. I'd be either in a jail somewhere or dead or on drugs. God saved me. Islam saved my life. Some of my indigenous family say, well, how you follow an organized religion? Look, I could understand Christianity, because Christianity came here from Europe and it destroyed our people. Christianity lynched our people, put us in chains, stole our lands under the name of their God. Now, I never see no Muslims in great numbers come over here and do what these white European Christians did to us. Are there bad Muslims? Yes, there's bad people in every religion. But to the scale of what the white man did with Christianity, there is no equal. There's no equal. But brothers want to, attack me. This one sister, I was at a powwow, said to me, because she found out my Muslim name was Lamik. She said, you're native, and how could you be Muslim? Muslim means one who's civilized. That's what it means. Forget the title. It means I am striving to become a better human being. All right. So I asked her, I said, you're Christian? She said, yes. I said, how can you be a Christian? She walked off, went back to her teepee. I said, the nerve. I said, I never asked you about your religion. I never asked who you follow, who you go home to pray to. That's your damn business. Don't come sitting here judging me. You don't know what I've been through. I've persevered because Islam taught me how to not only be a better man, Islam taught me to start my own business. And all the churches that I've been to growing up in the Bronx, I ain't never had pastors say, we need to get the youth into entrepreneurial programs, help to build up the communities, work for ourselves. I ain't never heard that growing up in the 80s, in the 70s. Again, it was Islam, and Islam, unbeknownst to most people, is not an organized religion as they would have you think in terms of organized to be what? Because there's nothing wrong with organization. There's nothing wrong with organizing out of chaos. There's nothing wrong with that. People say some stupid things sometimes. Really need to check themselves. Organized religion. Christianity was an organized religion against us. So what they're really saying is that you following what white people have been telling you, because they are definitely afraid of Islam. And let me just, I know I said I was going to be done, but I'm a little long-winded today, so bear with me. When the people that were being kidnapped from Egypt, so-called Middle East, and brought into slavery, 90% of them were Muslims. And when they were on the slave ships, they were not yet slaves, because a slave is one who was mentally bound. They rose up against their captors on the boats, and they were more effective in fighting, because Islam brings out the militant propensities in black people, and they rose up against their captors and they slew their captors. And the white man came back and said, well, who were the troublemakers more so than anyone else? The ones who fought against their captivity. It was the Muslims. And this is in the Library of Congress. These damn people, they don't want us to know this shit. So therefore, they said, you know what? This is what we're going to do. We're going to paint a label against Muslims saying that they are bad people. The people who are actually committing crimes, label them as being bad. And we're going to separate them from other religious groups, and we're going to kill them. This was actually done during the transatlantic slave trade. Well, some people are even denying that. It's just I'm just like, my brain just can't handle people who just don't read nothing, and believe every other piece of garbage that's being spewed out there with regards to black people who were brought from the continent and brought over here. It's being discounted and discredited as being nothing. That every black person that was put in slavery was from here, which is a lie, So this is what caused the white man to rise up against Islam. If you notice, most white people today in this country have the most vitriolic hatred against Muslims. So, and no one asked the questions why. Because Islam, they're not going by that. You hit me on my left cheek, I'm going to turn my right cheek to your ass. We don't play that bullshit. Excuse my language. We don't play that. That's why I love Islam. See, they taught us to be Christians so they can beat you on your ass, turn around, kick you in your right side of your face, and then kick you on your left side of the face so you be a punk. I wish I would teach my family that garbage. That's why, I have issues with some Christianity today, because some of them, our people, are still teaching that madness. That's why when foreigners come here, other countries, they look at us as, look, Vietnam. What did they do to the United States military in Vietnam in the 1970s? Those little yellow Asians over there, brown Asians over there, they fought like hell and kicked the United States the hell out of Vietnam because they was over there for nefarious reasons. Talk about they wanted to bring democracy in. Yeah, okay, sure. People waking up to that bullshit too. So in other countries, they're looking at, America like, you ain't coming over here with that. We'll fight you. And your troops ain't like ours. We ain't scared to die. Dealing with in Islam, the Muslims over there, yeah, they're not scared to die. They fight for what they believe in and protecting their families to the best of their ability. Even some of their women will be ready to die for their people. Hey, that's love. Ain't nothing wrong with that. That's love. And then we send our children to go other countries to go fight for what? And you want to be proud and a patriot when they killing you right here at home, but you want to go over there, go fight for someone else's agenda, which is a nefarious agenda, and it's nothing genuine about why the reasons why you over there and the lies that's being told to you. I mean, goddamn, it's been 400 years and they've been doing nothing but lying and deceiving people. You mean to tell me you still haven't woken up? And here we are, 2024. They talking about the draft. And on that note, I'm gonna say peace, family. Anigido. Peace and blessings. I love you. But yeah, please share this as much as you can to the human family. Those who will listen, don't give it to someone who will just look at it and toss it. My job ultimately is to teach, and it has been since I came into the knowledge and understanding of who I am, my culture, my history, past of our people, and in the present and to the future of what's coming. These are warnings that I've gotten from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He has let our people know that none of us are exempt from the destruction and the judgments that are here. None of us are exempt. If you watch the news and the weather, you will see that these events are increasing around the country. Because America is a rogue nation. Hear me. This is a rogue nation. And she does not believe in God. She believes that she can do whatever she wants, whenever she wants, and get away with it without any repercussions. But yet we're getting flooded. The West Coast is burning up again. It's getting worse. The seasons seem to be changing. Things are not the same. Things are out of place, and they're equivocating this to global warming, which is some part to play. As the minister taught me, there is some part to play in that, yes. But God is the conductor, and He is distributing and disseminating these judgments throughout the entire United States, and they will in fact get worse. So again, I love you. May God be with you. Peace and blessings, family. And hopefully I'll be on here again soon. And I look forward to chatting with you in the future. All right. Donada Gohoni, Anigido. Peace and blessings. Got any? Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. Any questions before I go? Foxy, antisocial sister. Any questions? Feel free to ask whatever is on your mind. If not, no questions for now. All right. All right then. So again, enjoy the rest of your day, family. Okay, and we'll link up again soon.